When I built my first computer back in 2015, I remember thinking about it so much. I would spend hours every single day on PC Part Picker, comparing all the different options. I think I started at the GTX 960. I sort of convinced myself that I needed more, that I needed the GTX 970. After looking at a bunch of comparisons, I ended up going to the R9 390 because it just seemed to be better. And looking back on it, it was better. I had an i5 4690K, which was a very good CPU at the time. I had the SanDisk Ultra 2 SATA SSD, a 1TB hard drive, 16GB of DDR3. I had a Bitphoenix case. It was the cheapest case that I could find. I was just so happy with the computer. I was really proud of it. I wanted to play games at 60 FPS, 1080p, on like high settings, whatever. And it did that. The main game that I was really interested in was Witcher 3. Played that game a lot. I played that game so much and I loved it. I also played Dark Souls 1 for the first time. I think it was in 2016 and I played through it multiple times. It's still my favorite game of all time. A game that I've played countless times and I really love that game. I played a lot of CSGO, played Overwatch, hundreds and hundreds of hours of playtime. You know, great times, great times. I got into making YouTube videos, started really browsing the internet and yeah, just completely life-changing experience. I had so much fun on that computer, I really loved it. 2017 I got a 2TB hard drive and I changed out the case. The real upgrades happened in 2020. It's something that I've come to really regret. This was a bad move. The third generation of Ryzen had come out, and it was huge. It was like a massive thing in processors. Nvidia was on RTX. I think the RTX 2000 series had come out. There was a lot of stuff happening in PC building, and my PC was 5 years old by this point. I ended up convincing myself that I need to upgrade my PC. I upgraded every part except GPU and power supply. I got the R5 3600, a MSI B450 Tomahawk Max motherboard, Cooler Master, Hyper 212 Evo, whatever. That CPU cooler, you know the one. I got 16GB of DDR4. All these upgrades, very expensive. And there was like barely any difference in the performance. Like on paper, it is a generational leap. Going from DDR3 to DDR4, i5, 4th generation to Ryzen 3000. It is like a pretty big leap in that way, but in actual real world use, especially in video games, I remember immediately realizing that like this was a bad move. The case that I got was the NCXT H510. It's not the greatest case. That's not even the worst thing I did. The worst thing by far was the SSD, because I didn't really do any research, kind of just went into it assuming that I knew what was good and what wasn't. Back in 2015, the idea of an NVMe SSD in like a consumer computer was not really a thing. People didn't do that. For the same price that I got, I think it was a Samsung 860 250GB SATA SSD. For nearly the same price as that, I could have gotten an NVMe SSD, which would have been significantly faster. So overall, this entire upgrade in 2020 was awful. It was not a good move. I really regret it. But I was not done yet making bad decisions, because a year later, in 2021, I thought it was time to upgrade my R9 390. It had been in use for 6 years by that point, so it's fair to think that it might need an upgrade, and I thought to myself that I need to upgrade now, because the prices are gonna keep on going up. If I don't upgrade now, who knows when I'll get the chance next time. Turns out I kind of read the situation wrong, and the prices were already pretty much as high as they would go. I ended up buying a RTX 2060 for well over 400 euros. I think it's probably one of my biggest regrets in terms of purchases. There is a performance upgrade there. It is more powerful than the R9 390, definitely. And I did get access to some stuff like DLSS and whatnot. I do also lose 2 GB of VRAM, which when you're spending 400 is pretty sad. And the performance upgrade, while it was there, it wasn't huge. 2023 is when I next made any sort of upgrades to my PC. I got a 2TB NVMe SSD. I didn't install Windows on it, I just had this for storage until in 2024 when I decided to make a proper wave of upgrades. I got a new GPU. This time I did my research. I actually looked into what the situation was. I looked into specifically the used market, which was really smart. Ended up finding a really good deal on an RX 6700 XT. I paid 250 euros for it, which at the time the normal price was around 300. At the same time I also got a new power supply, 32 GB of RAM, and lastly I got a 1TB NVMe Western Digital SN850X, which is a very fast NVMe drive. So I reinstalled Windows on this boot drive. Gave me a pretty noticeable upgrade in overall speed for my computer. This round of upgrades was very solid. I think I was careful here. I specifically looked at the biggest problems with my PC and focused on those, and I found like a good deal on everything. This was the state of my PC until a few weeks ago, when I had the computer under my desk. I looked at it, it was really dusty. The fans were all of a different brand. There was a BitPhoenix fan in there. The case fan that came with my very first case back in 2015. One of those case fans was still in this PC. It was making an awful kind of sound, not meant for human ears. There was a Corsair fan in there. I think one of them had RGB, the other ones didn't. All kinds of different fans, making all kinds of different pitches of noise. I had the R5 3600, which by this point is pretty old. If you're staying on AM4, you'd like to have 5000 series CPUs or something. The PC was feeling, I don't know, stagnant is I guess how I would describe it. Especially with games. Like I was playing Monster Hunter Wilds, which that's not really my computer's fault, okay? But it still made me feel pretty bad about the PC, how it just would not run very well. If I had a more powerful CPU, I would be able to not worry about that. The NCXT H510, not a very good case. I don't really like the way it looked. I was just not really happy with this computer. It's not a bad computer. It does what I need it to, I suppose. I've spent a lot of money on this computer, yet I don't really like it. I find it to be good enough, I guess. But compare that to how I was feeling back in 2015, and it's night and day. I really got in the position where I was heavily contemplating possible CPU upgrade, getting AM5. I was looking at a new case. My mind was very jumbled. I kept on changing between these two mindsets of one day I'm feeling like I want to buy all of these new expensive things. The next day, I swear I'll never purchase anything outside of the used market, and even then, only after severely lowballing the seller. Spend a bunch of money to really upgrade the PC, or if I want to just stick with the R5 3600 until it explodes or some shit. I decided to stick with the case, but I needed to do some stuff to it. I started with cleaning it, went through every single crevice, every single little part on the motherboard, and there was so much dust. God, there was so much dust. I got 3 Arctic P14 Maxes and 1 Arctic P12 Max. I got a fan hub, so now they're all connected nicely to the same fan thing. They make a nice even sound, not the evil cacophony of noise that I had before. And since I'm sticking with the H510, I needed to make some modifications to it. First, a little bit of an unintended modification. I'm just taking apart my PC, and when I was taking the motherboard out of there to clean and repaste and everything, I had a lot of trouble pulling out the USB 3 connector, which I have right here. Now you may wonder, doesn't that usually have like a blue part to it that you connect to there? And yeah, it did. It did have that. However, while pulling this out, the blue part stuck in there, and I had to use pliers to pull it out, and it was not pretty. So it's right now it's sitting over there in the trash can. and I'm gonna be going without front panel USB from here on out, I suppose. Whoever designed this piece of shit connector needs to be... One of the things that really always bothered me with the H510 is that there's this LED on the power button that lights up whenever there is any kind of storage activity. With a computer, there is always storage activity. Removed that LED, I desoldered it, so that solves that issue. Could have just taped over it, but I wanted to do something a little bit more severe. Next up, I removed the red plate or whatever that the case has. It comes off, it's intended to come off, so it was fine. After that, I put everything together. It was a little bit of a fun situation. The motherboard would give me like the debug light for graphics, so I assumed there was something wrong with the GPU. Kept on like reseating the cables. I even brought out the R9 390 because I never got rid of that. I still have the R9 390. If I was smart, I would have sold it back in 2021 when it still had some value, but I didn't. But yeah, I tried the R9 390 just to see like if the issue was with the GPU, and it wasn't. I kept on troubleshooting, and eventually I realized that I had a USB hub connected. Some really cheap like €5 USB hub was causing it to not boot. Somehow, throughout that entire time, I never once thought to remove all the USB devices. Regardless, it worked. Everything worked in the end. This improved my computer a lot. I was a lot happier now. But there was still something missing. The CPU. I just wanted something more powerful. It's not a bad CPU, but it's also just not really a great CPU by this point either. The obvious solution is the 5700 X3D. But the problem is, there in Finland it is €240. That's pretty steep, that's pretty expensive. What makes it worse is that back during last year's Black Friday, so 2024, when I bought all of those previous upgrades to my PC, the CPU was €189. If I had just gotten it back then, I could have saved €50 compared to now, and I would have been able to use it for all this time. Getting this 5700 X3D now would be like an awful move. And I felt really bad about it because I felt like I had missed the opportunity to sort of get this good upgrade on AM4, and now my only option really was to go AM5 at some point, I guess. Until a light from the heavens, the used market strikes again. Feels like recently I've just been on this insane roll of always being in the right place at the right time. A €150 R7 5700 X3D. Very, very good deal. Immediately clicked buy. It was such an easy decision. It was a complete no-brainer. The shipping was kind of weird. It took like a week for it to ship, and it used like a shipping method that I had not much experience with. From the very beginning, it was kind of a weird experience. The 5700 X3D has arrived. It's in this very blurred box here. When I went to pick it up, I immediately noticed that there was something a little weird about the whole feel of it. Like moving it around, there was like a small object moving inside this box. Let's open this thing up. This is a can of nicotine pouches. Alright. Okay, we do have the CPU in there. This box is massive compared to this, and it's just been shaking around with the only protection for it being a piece of paper. I'm really hoping that this thing still works. Okay, I got the CPU cooler out of there, but it was kind of difficult. I had to kind of like shift it around because it was really trying to pull that CPU with it. There's a little bit of like an imprint on it, but I think that's probably just pressure from the previous, CPU cooler. I guess I shouldn't be saying this. This has so far gone very smoothly. There have been like no problems. All that is left is to press the power button. So let's see how it goes. Right now it's just circling the lights. I don't know what it's doing. It might just be like configuring stuff. Okay, we have something. I think it's posting. It posted. The fans are full speed, so you probably can't hear me. Can I fix that? Also, I think I lost all of my BIOS settings. That's a little annoying. I'll try to fix the fans. Yeah, let's try booting into Windows. Well, let's go, huge. Okay, it is working, fantastic. That is really bright. Task Manager, with our CPU, and there it is. The AMD Ryzen 7 5700X3D. With the 5700X3D installed, this is now my current PC. Looking at the entire list of specs and everything in there, looking at how it physically looks, it's a very good computer. I like it a lot. Biggest problem is probably the case, but even that has been modified now, which makes it feel a little more personal. I have seen a pretty noticeable performance upgrade as well, and I'm excited to really try out a lot of PC games now. For a while now, I haven't really been that excited about playing like modern games on my PC. Well, one, because I don't really have that much interest in a lot of modern games, but two, because I haven't really had that much interest in my own PC for a while now. It's been a while since I've actually been interested in seeing like good graphics. I think I want to get Cyberpunk 2077. That game looks really cool. I've heard good things about it. Red Dead Redemption 2 is another game. Gotta play the first game first though. I still don't know if I'm gonna get Elden Ring Night Rain. Either way, I'm having a great time with playing games on my PC again. I've put it on my desk now, so it's no longer hidden under the table, which will hopefully help with the dust situation. I think I'm gonna try to upgrade way more often and make sort of smaller upgrades and then resell my previous parts. That's what I want, rather than upgrading every 5 years or something like I sort of did before. A year from now, I'll upgrade my GPU, resell the 6700 XT. That's kind of the situation, that's my plans currently. But I'm excited. I want to stay informed on what the prices are like and what new parts are coming out. I think it's fun to look at all the parts, it's fun to kind of mindstorm what kind of upgrades you could make. I'm really happy to say that after a long time now, I finally again really like my computer.